Today we're going to take a look at section 10-2, simplifying radicals. The objective in this section is to simplify radicals involving products and quotients. In problem number 1, removing the perfect square factors, let's take a look at the square root of 160. How do you solve that problem? What we want to look for is the biggest number that multiplied together to give me 160, but one of those numbers is a perfect square. That's where you come up with 16 times 10, and you put that underneath the square root sign. Then you break those two apart and find out what is a perfect square of one of the numbers. So we have the square root of 16 times the square root of 10. And the square root of 16 is 4. So your final answer, since you cannot break down square root of 10, your final answer is 4 square root 10. Let's take a look at the got it problem. They have the square root of 72. If we want to break down the square root of 72, we need to come up with two numbers that multiply together give me 72. Let's take a look. Can we think of a number? That's right. 9 times 8 is 72. But now we got to break down the 9 and the 8. What is the square root of 9? 3. And we're left with square root 8. But we can break down 8 into another number that's a perfect square. What number multiplied by itself, or what number times another number, gives me 8? That's right. 4 times 2 is 8. But if we look at 4, we can break that down even further. What is the square root of 4? That's right, 2. So what happens is the 2 pops out with the 3 on the outside, leaving square root 2 left under the square root sign. So our final answer is we need to multiply 3 times 2 and get 6 square root 2. So sometimes you can find a bigger number right away and get the answer, or find two other numbers, find the square root, and then break them down. In problem number 2, we're going to take a look at a number with a letter underneath the square root sign also. So let's take a look at square root 54 n to the 7th power. What do we do to solve that problem? Again, we have to look at what two numbers multiplied together give me 54, where 1 is a perfect square. That's where they come up with square root 9 n to the 6th power times 6n. Notice they put a 6 above the n. The reason they do that is you want to change the number to an even number with the perfect square, where when you add the n's together, you get 7n. So you'll end up with 6n and n to the first power, where those two exponents add up to 7, which was the original exponent. So now all we need to do is find the perfect square that makes 9. 9 is a perfect square. The square root of 9 would be 3, and the exponent 6, that number plus itself gives me 6. That would be 3. And I'm left with square root of 6n. So my final answer is 3 n to the third power square root (6n). Let's take a look at problem 3, multiplying two radical expressions. We were given 2 square root 7t times 3 square root 14t. What's my first step in solving this problem? I need to take a look at the two numbers outside the square root sign and multiply them together. So that gives us 2 times 3 on the outside. Which gives me the 6 on the outside there. Then I need to take 7t times 14t squared. That's what's left inside the square root sign. Because there's a multiplication, I need to multiply those two numbers, and those two numbers give me 98 t to the third power. I need to break down that number into a number that is a perfect square times another number. And if you look at what they did, they found that 49 is a perfect square of 98 when you take 49 times 2t. Noticing that the number that's a perfect square, they put an even number with that t to get t squared and left a t with the other number. So what you're left with is 49t squared with the square root of 2t. And always remember to bring down the number on the outside of the square root. So if we're going to break down 49t squared, the number that comes out of 49 is 7, along with the t. Multiplied by the 6 on the outside. That will give you 42t. With the square root of 2t. So your final answer is 42t square root 2t.